Yeah, enough.
Robin's not here.
Good? Okay. The New Jersey Public's Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted with the Star Ledger and the Express Times, and submitted to the town clerk of the town of Belvidere on January 19th, 2024. The meeting will be live streamed at www.belvideresd.org. Flag salute, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of the Belvidere School District is to celebrate our past and empower our future, while focusing on our four cornerstones of our district: tradition, excellence, academics, and community. We strive to build confidence and promote collaboration. We encourage an equal partnership with our students and staff as well as its community members. We empower everyone to develop the best version of themselves. The Belvidere School District is committed to shaping students into global citizens who take initiatives for their success and contribute to their continued excellence of our district. Our students are leaders in the decision-making process of their education and will be prepared to excel in the 21st century society. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman.
Present.
Mr. Blum. Dr. Zuppeth.
Here.
Mrs. Duckworth.
Here.
Mrs. Gleen. Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mrs. Steffen.
Here.
Mrs. Wenner.
Here.
Mrs. Serbone.
Here.
Mr. Ciccarelli.
Here.
Mrs. Gardella. Mrs. Rabach.
Here.
Okay, so we are on to committee reports, and we had sports ad hoc.
So I apologize, we didn't get the meeting minutes out. It was just last week. So we had Mr. Karabinas, as we know, is taking on the new role, and Mr. Feldman, who joined us and had some, and I asked for him to be present because I understand the sports class has been really well received from a lot of the students and wanted to hear a little bit of what he's doing there. So he talked about really revamping and kind of unifying all the sports programs, and he's putting together a new club in the school, and it's called the Red Zone. So it's going to be a sports club where I guess it's all the kids from all the different sporting teams are going to join. And the idea is also to increase the school spirit. They want to get, more positive, I guess, social media. They're going to do interviews, things like that, just really vamp up the whole sports program with this Red Zone Club. And I believe it's already started because I think I heard some kids are already getting involved in it. And they're going to have like a president and a vice president. And so it's going to be an official club within the school. So we're really excited about that. It's going to also help with community awareness. We talked a little bit about getting sorry, I'm just going over my notes, getting some sponsorships for school swag, and talked about the need for a lot of the kids to kind of sport their swag throughout the school and be proud of representing, whatever their sport is throughout the school. Let's see, what else did we talk a little bit about? Mr. Karabinas talked about some programs through St. Luke's, right, that we have some opportunity there to. Okay, yep, so he'll talk a little bit more about that. And then also we have some academic coaches, which is something new to, I think, the high school, right, this year, or?
We've had them, we're sports specific as well.
Okay, so sports, so then this way that the kids, what they want to do is really help the kids get the grades that they need in order to participate in the sports that they're playing, rather than just saying, okay, you don't have a grade, so you can't play. We want to put all of the, all things in line so that these kids are actually set up for success, and that we're not just punishing them, saying, hey, you don't have good grades. So at least this way we can say, go talk to your academic coach and see how that goes, and try to, get those grades up so that they're not penalized with not playing their sport. I think pretty much it.
Any questions on that? No? Okay. Okay, now we are going to look at going into executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session for personnel negotiations and shared services.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session in approximately half hour? Half hour or less? Okay? So that brings us to public participation. Is there any public participation on agenda items? Anybody? No? Okay. Do we have, are we doing testing presentation before correspondence?
If I have any, either way.
You don't have any correspondence? No? Okay. Then we'll go on to
Dr. McKinney's dying to
testing.
get this presentation rolling.
Testing
She's so excited about it.
presentation. Come on down, Dr. McKinney.
Grab the microphone.
Oh, don't worry, I will. Eric will chase me down. I will.
Okay, good evening. All right, so every year we do the testing presentation to share our test results from the year prior. So I'll go through the NJSLA testing that we had, which includes the NJGPA, the 11th grade test, the SAT, PSAT, and AP scores. So just some background information, our current laws governing the assessments that we give, they are federal requirements through ESSA. All students need to be assessed in ELA and math, grades 3 through 8. This says once in high school, but for all us high school parents, you know that the kids will take a test in ninth grade ELA and Algebra 1, and then they do take it again as juniors, the NJGPA. That's their graduation requirement. The assessments must be approved by the U.S. Department of Education prior to any schools being able to give them. And then the performance measures, proficiency and growth measurements are used to help identify schools that are in need based on the scores and the supports that must be used. And it's also CUSAC, NJ-CUSAC compliance. We have to have our state assessments as part of our CUSAC assessment. So the NJSLA assessments, they are still using the baseline scoring from prior to COVID, 18-19. I know, obviously, we didn't assess during COVID, but they kind of kept those baseline scores from back then. And then the performance levels range from did not meet to exceeded expectations. I tried to put the beautiful colors in there for you to show actually the colors that they use on the score reports for the parents. And you'll see the score ranges for each of those. It starts at 650, which is did not meet expectations, and it goes all the way up to 850 for students who exceed the expectations. And then test durations change from grade level to grade level. 2.5 to 3 hours, and then science is 4 hours. So science is tested over 2 days. They do 2 hours one day and then 2 hours the other day because we are not allowed to test them over a certain number of hours for each sitting. So here's your comparison, BES only. Obviously, we can't necessarily compare at the high school because they only take it as freshmen and then take it again as juniors. So we have the grade level comparisons. So, starting grade 3 back in 2023 to now, the then fourth grade students in 2024. And you can see that all the way down, grades 3 through 7 in 2023, and then grades 4 through 8 in 2024. Grade 3 jumped up as fourth graders, and then you could see some of the other grade levels. They kind of went up a little bit, and then some went down. And then here's the math. Again, same thing, grades 3 through 7 in '23, and then their grades 4 through 8. Your 8th graders for math are split. You have students who just take grade 8 mathematics, and then you have some of those higher level students who take the Algebra 1 as 8th graders. So I made sure that I put both of those scores in, and you'll see our scores compared to the state in a few minutes, but our 8th graders did really well on that Algebra 1. So here we go, the comparisons between Belvidere and the state, grades 3 all the way through grade 11, the NJGPA. It's nice to see, especially when it comes to junior year, the students just want to get these tests done. They're tired of taking these tests. But it was nice to see where our students fell. While they fell a little bit below the state average, it was very close. So I was happy to see that. But again, you'll see, our scores do fall below the state average last year, 2024. And then our math scores, and I think I say this every year, math is traditionally our tougher area, our tougher tested area. Again, you'll see the BES algebra kids, they scored above the state average. Our geometry kids, while it was only 1 point, it's nice that they're right there. And then the NJGPA, the 11th graders, were just slightly below the state average. Here are science scores. You ask the science teachers, they're not fans of the test, but they'll tell you that the subject matter is all over the place in science, and they try to focus on things during the year in their classes, and then when it gets to the test, it seems like the topics are all over the place. But again, not super far off from where the state is, so we'll look at those scores and kind of see what those recurring themes are. These are the AP scores from 2023. In the next slide, it actually shows some really good stuff, but you can see the number, I based the number of 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. Obviously, we want our students to get between 3 and 5 on their AP exam. Some exams are much harder than others. One little caveat with physics, last year we've been having the issue of finding a physics teacher. So, those students kind of were split up, and they did it online, and that was a difficult program for them to be on. So that definitely shows with their test score because of the timing that they were put on the program. They didn't necessarily have all of the material when it came time to take the test, but they were troopers and they took the test anyway, so we're really proud of them. I do want to point out with our AP language, English language class, our AP English language class, we had 84% of the students who scored 3 or higher, and U.S. history, all of the students scored a 3 or higher. So those are some really nice statistics to see, and we're proud of that. So this is the one that I like, the 5-year summary. We have gone up from 2023 to 2024. We had a 54% of students who scored a 3 or more back in '23, and 68% in 2024. So again, a nice little statistic to see, especially when you talk to the kids and they tell you how difficult they feel the tests are going to be. They actually perform well and try their hardest. So we're happy to see that, and it's nice to see that 68%. SAT scores so we do an SAT school day. The purpose of doing an SAT school day is for the kids to have a familiar place to take the test. Research has shown that if they take it in a familiar place, they do better, and I think this is definitely a testament to that. Our students performed, their mean score was 1025 compared to the state. They do it by public schools and then all schools. So compared to all schools that took it in the state of New Jersey at 893, and then globally, 952 was
I don't remember us ever being that high off the state before.
I know.
Ever.
It's good stuff. And then math, same thing. And again, math is traditionally the one that we don't do as well in, but it's nice to see, again, that our students scored a 530 average compared to the 451 state and then the 485 global.
Always right at or just below.
So it's good. When I was putting this presentation together, I was really happy seeing these scores. I'm sorry, that was the reading and writing. And then here's our math. But again, same thing.
right.
We're still above both the state and the global scores. Here are the PSAT 10. So we give the PSAT 10 to sophomores to give them some practice taking the PSAT prior to taking it as juniors. As juniors, they have the option to take it. They actually took it today in school in this room. And so you'll see where last year's sophomores fared in comparison to New Jersey and national. So right there, 878 mean total range, and then in New Jersey was 892, 899 nationally. So we're kind of right there with everybody else. Above in English reading and writing for our kids, above New Jersey, a little bit above national. Math, again, that's our area. Little bit below both New Jersey and national. We had 78 sophomores take it last year, and then here's the breakdown of male, female, and students that met both benchmarks, met the English reading, writing benchmarks, and percentages that met the math benchmark. Then as juniors who took it last year, again, we are above New Jersey, a little bit below the national, and then we're above New Jersey, a little bit below, and so on and so forth, all the way down. We had 29 students who took it last year, and then here's the breakdown, male, female, and students who met both English reading, writing, and then math. So a couple of curricular additions that we've had at the high school. Mrs. Koch has a mindful living class. So for those of us that have heard the term mindfulness a lot, they kind of work on things like that. She's got her back room that she's turned into a mindfulness room, and they do all kinds of different activities. And from what I gather, the kids are really enjoying it. So she's trying to build that up, see where it goes, and see where we can take it for the following years to come. And then, I don't know if you've heard, but woodworking has taken off. The kids love it. Mr. Lutz is doing some really amazing stuff with them. They're making little silhouettes in there, and he is really building that program, and the hope is to be able to, at some point, bring them on full-time, because I know that there are other kids now that are seeing what's going on that would love to get in there, and we would love to put them in there. So it's good stuff. I like, when they first started cutting the wood, you walk down the hall, some of our kids were like, "Do you smell that burning?" And I was like, "Oh, that's wood. That's good. That's a good sign. It's a good sign. Don't worry. We're okay." But we haven't smelled that in so long, and it was just nice to be taken back to the time when we had that happening. So it's good. It's nice, and the kids seem happy. Mr. Lutz is doing a phenomenal job. So the support programs that we have for our BHS students, we have response to intervention, which is a multi-tiered system of supports, and we meet as a team to discuss things that we can do to help our kids. Like one of the pieces is the academic coaches for our student athletes. We have academic coaches just for our regular students as well. So teachers will say that, such and such student is having difficulty. We'll meet, we'll talk, we'll look at the data, and we'll try to come up with some ideas as to what interventions will help them be successful. And then if we get to a point where we have exhausted all of our options, then we move on to the next phase, which is potentially referring them for a child study team evaluation, but we try to do everything that we can do before we get to that point. We have our media center with Mrs. Bader. There's a ton of resources in there for the kids to have peer support centers, so we do have some peer tutoring. So sometimes using a teacher as an academic coach might not benefit a student, but they prefer a peer tutor, then we look at that option as well. Our teachers are available twice a week for 15 minutes during lunch to provide students with extra help. And then again, the academic coaches that we started this year for the student athletes to help them find success. Our BES student supports, same thing. We have response to intervention, academic and behavior coaches. They have their character ed program, K-3. Grades 4 to 5 have targeted skills where they work on those areas of weakness and try to strengthen them. Same thing with RTI and PICA-PAC. Grades 6 through 8 have ELA and math labs where they also work on ELA-related topics and math topics that they're having difficulty with to try to strengthen those and find success with those areas, response to intervention, study skills, and then they also have a character ed program. So in looking at all of that, obviously, I think the number one thing would be to analyze the data, look at the recurring themes of where the students are finding difficulty, and seeing what we can do to help those students strengthen those individual needs. One of the ways to do that is to utilize Renaissance Learning, which is the new program that we have. With using the data from the STAR assessments, teachers can assign Freckle and Lalilo for the younger ones to provide them with the targeted practice in those areas. And from their STAR assessment data, if you remember when Mr. Heinlein was here, the teachers can then get that Freckle to provide them the practice in the areas that they did not do well on. So we're hoping to see the successes of that and use that as another piece of data to help us figure out where we need to help our kids. And then lastly, determine the need for the academic coaches to help the students based on all of the data that we have. All right. Any questions? Yes.
Thanks.
No, Mr. Blum does.
Is the curriculum exactly the same across all New Jersey schools?
No. No. Everybody does it a little bit differently. The same topics will need to be taught. The question is how they're taught. That's the difference.
So that makes me question the validity of the sample.
It's a good point. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
We'll write into my report.
Yep. Superintendent's report.
All right. Thank you, Dr. McKinney, for your nice presentation. I'm going to start out by handing out my updated goals from our meeting last week. 2, 3, 6. And you can kind of take a look. I took the topics that we had discussed. Excuse me. I did change the percentage on the student growth, and I jumped that number to 60% after some discussion that kind of came out during the meeting. And I actually already started to put the database together of all the students' scores from last year so we can really take a good look from student to student each year. So this is more just for everybody to take a good look at. We can quote-unquote formally approve it at the next meeting. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just please email them to me. This is very much open for any potential changes. But hopefully, at least we get off to the right start. I didn't fill in the staff column yet, because we know the staff is basically myself, Dr. McKinney, and Mr. Carabina. So with some other folks helping here and there, and Ms. Black when it comes to chronic absenteeism and attendance. Okay. I want to mention, and it's an agenda item, so it's worth mentioning. We have the agenda item under education. I think it's education. You would think I would know the agenda a little bit better. Oh, I'm sorry, it's under business, to approve the creation of a Veterans Wall of Honor. I'd probably say about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, Mr. Karabinas came to me and told me a little bit about the idea, and then Mr. Zetterstrom emailed me. One of the students, I don't know if I could say the student's name publicly, came after we started talking about our Veterans Day Assembly, and thought it'd be a great idea if we could create a wall to honor all of the Belvidere graduates who have served in the military. And it's very similar to when Mr. Zetterstrom came to me about 15 years ago with the Veterans Day Assembly, and we thought it was going to be a small thing, take small steps, and then in the first year it was about an hour and 40-minute assembly, and it was great, and it still is. And I think he didn't realize how many names he had gotten. When I saw Mr. Z yesterday morning, he said he's close to 1,000 names from Belvidere High School alumni that have served in the military. So still hoping to have everything in place right around when we have the Veterans Day Assembly, which is the Wednesday before Teachers Convention. I think it just became a little bit more than he realized. But we thank the student who came forward. We thank Washington Collision to help us with the costs, and certainly for Mr. Zetterstrom for the work he's doing on this. I think it's just a great thing for our school and a great way to honor those who have graduated from here and who have served, in their military. And if you think it should be on there, somebody who should be, just make sure we have the name, because we do miss people along the way, and we're not doing that intentionally. So I just wanted to mention that.
It can always be added to.
Can always be added to in the future. One of the things that Dr. McKinney had up there is Mrs. Koch's mindful class. Mrs. Koch sent me a text yesterday that said that through Google, she got a $500 grant for some equipment and furniture for the room, so that was really nice to hear. Google is doing a whole mindful outreach, and she submitted for it, and she got $500. So we've been doing pretty good with those small grants this year between the football team with the 5K and that. I think it's great to mention. When Mrs. Winter was talking about Mr. Feldman, just in case you don't know, there is an Instagram page. It's BHS. I think it's _ Red Zone, _ again. I think it's the second underscore. It is great. It's awesome. Get all information on all the sports, player profiles and things of that nature. So highly recommend if you follow Instagram to jump on that, because it's just a great way to get the information. And the class has done an excellent job with that. I also want to just comment, too, about the academic coaches, the sports academic coaches. Mr. Karabinas and I have a shared item, which is both of our sons are student athletes at St. Joe's University in Philly. And I've known about my son has been working with academic coach since he's a freshman. He's a senior now. And that's, I think, where the idea sort of, we were talking about, that's where it came about, where our academic coaches will work with specific sports teams. I think the best part of it is they're not working specifically with their sport team. So I think that it's really good, and I think it's just another great way to support our student athletes. And just to mention, we have homecoming coming up next week, 5 days of great events, followed by the football game next Saturday. So I'm talking a week from this coming Saturday, and the homecoming dance on Saturday night, correct? Homecoming dance? Yep. It's always a great week. A lot of school spirit this year. All of our sports teams are doing really, really well this year. It's fun to see. We get a lot of fans out there. Just to mention them all, I had my opportunity to see the one senior for senior night of cross country last week. That was great to see. I've been to a few soccer games. It's been great. Field hockey is always doing well, and again, the football team is doing good. So it's just been a great start to the year with our sports team. And then finally, just a quick plug for the Murder Mystery on November 15th again. If you want to come, please let Mr. Zetterstrom know. Looking very much forward to that. So. And the 16th. Thank you, Mr. Karabinas. And that's all I have for my report tonight.
A question.
Sure.
The Red Zone Club that Tyler mentioned, we normally get information. Did I miss that information? Did we get it?
It's just getting rolling. It's not anything that's...
Because normally we approve that club before they start it.
Yeah, we're just getting
Okay.
rolling. Yep, just getting rolling. We'll get all that moving.
Just checking. I didn't know if I had missed something.
All right. So we are on to personnel items 1 through 9. Can I have a motion to look at 1 through 9, personnel? Oh, and we
Got an
have an
add-on.
add-on 9A.
Right.
Sorry.
Motion?
Second.
All right, any questions? No? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman? Yes. Mr. Blum? Dr. Zuppeth?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Wenner?
Yes.
Mr. Serbone?
Yes.
Mr. Chicarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella?
Yes.
And Mrs. Robotham?
Yes. Okay, so now we are on to education items 10 through 13, and there is an addition for 13 on your extra sheet tonight. Can I have a motion for 10 through 13?
Motion?
Okay. Any questions?
I just had a quick question on the 5th grade camp. Is that different? That's not Stokes anymore?
It's still Stokes. I
It
think they
is,
just
okay.
changed,
Yeah, it's-
formally changed the name.
Any other questions? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? So we're going to go on to business items. It's going to be 14 through 21. Can I have a motion for items 14 through 21?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Item 17. We're approving carte blanche, everything that's going to happen. Are we approving carte blanche, everything that's going to happen, or just for insurance purposes? Because we haven't seen any approvals for fundraisers in quite a while, and we haven't seen any accounting records from any booster clubs in quite a while. We're supposed to get that stuff, the events are supposed to be approved prior to them happening, and the financials are supposed to be every year.
So I'll talk about the Booster Club first. That's something Mr. Carabinus and I had talked about that sort of slipped through the cracks, and he's going to be on top of that shortly. I don't want to give you a specific time, put too much time on it. As far as the mass approval, I don't necessarily have a good answer to that question at the moment. I gotta look
I'm
into
not
that.
thrilled with that. I'm going to
Yeah.
vote no because I
Okay.
don't think we should mass approve. I have no idea what somebody's going to do in the future, and do I want the Belvidere High School name associated with that or not?
Fair. Could table it, and then we can bring it back
If
at the
it's
next
just for
one.
insurance reasons, that's one thing, but if this is going to be the carte blanche going forward, that I have a problem with.
The motion itself has just been carried forward for insurance purposes. The specifics, I mean, some of it has been in here, like the Booster Club trip on Sunday for the girls is on here now. But I would definitely say that's something that needs to be rejuvenized.
But typically, a list would be approved. Yeah.
Yeah.
May not, may give you a list of 20, we're only going to do 10, but at least they're approved.
Well, and there was a facilities request form.
If they're
and-
utilizing
But
our
there's also
facility.
another form to do the fundraising event. And it's been so long since we've gotten one, I can't remember.
Well, just personally for Soccer Booster Club, I know we've submitted them all this season, so I don't know where they're going, but I know we're submitting them.
Yeah, the fundraiser forms, I don't think we ever approved them on the board agenda, but
Per policy, I believe we're supposed to.
I just don't recall ever
Yeah.
doing that.
Let's look at it.
Yeah.
So if this is just for the insurance, I'll vote yes, but if it's for more than that, I'm voting no. Because we need to get that clarified.
I'd say table it until November.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You want to, so what number is that?
17.
17.
So make a motion to,
We don't have to make a motion, we're just going to table it.
If everyone consents,
Well,
then you could just table it.
okay.
I say table it with notification that they need to provide us with lists.
Right.
Whether it's the Booster Club, the PTO, the Project Graduation, and all booster clubs, because it's, like, they all need to be notified that they need a list, or we're not necessarily going to approve a blanket statement.
Well, but what are we saying? We're not going to approve insurance, or we're not
Yeah,
going to
'cause
approve the
this is-
activities?
Right.
Well, not necessarily the insurance, it's like the activity. So what she's saying, like, I think what I hear Mary Ann saying, which I don't disagree, is, oh, they're gonna have, an open mic night at a local tavern or a bar or something, and you're like, well, we don't really want our, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if
no,
it's
I
something that-
understand,
Yeah.
I understand that,
So a
but this
list.
in particular covers multiple things. It's covering the insurance.
Yeah,
So,
for
Right.
so like the PTO is having
activities.
a trunk or treat, which they
Yeah.
filled out the
Use
facilities
facility,
form.
right.
So I would hope that we would be okay with the insurance, but I also understand that we would want to approve any kind of a fundraising activity.
Well, that was my question. If this
Right,
is just
so-
for insurance, that's
Right.
one thing, but if this is for
Right.
more than that,
I
it's
would
something else.
recommend that we go forward with the motion for insurance purposes.
Insurance purposes
For
only.
insurance purposes
Yeah.
only.
But that we also
Our activities have to be.
make sure
Yeah.
that we are using the proper forms and we clarify what we put on the agenda
Correct.
versus what we approve internally.
Right. Let's do
Yeah, I
that.
would
So we'll keep it,
agree
on-
with
put it under
that.
continuing business for next time.
Okay.
And we'll say this is just for insurance.
Yeah, because for facilities, we have to fill out the facility use forms, and they get approved, and we get that back. But anything, that would be
Off-site,
anything
right.
off grounds, like, team bonding, that's off grounds, or, any going to games or whatever that are off grounds could be approved otherwise, because you're not using the facility.
Right.
So to cover for insurance and things like that, for them traveling or whatever. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead with 17 for insurance purposes,
Only.
which is what
As it says in the motion.
Is what it says.
Doesn't say only.
Insurance purposes.
Right.
Okay,
We'll add the word in the minutes. How's that?
Only, yeah.
You want only in here?
only?
Only in the minutes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on any of the business items 14 through 21?
And then the comprehensive maintenance plan, is that the grant with the, no?
No, it's just an annual report.
Okay.
And the plan itself was in your packet. It's pretty vague.
Yeah,
Any other
No, that's the
questions?
MOA.
yeah, that's,
Literally, the comprehensive maintenance plan is vague. Really was vague. It's only a couple pages.
Anybody else? All right. For business items 14 through 21, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, so that takes us to continuing business.
Just two quick things to mention. One, we're still in the process of working through the sale of Third Street. We just submitted everything that needed to go to the architect after we approved that at the last meeting. So hopefully that starts to get the process moving quicker. Second is we are still on target. I reached out yesterday on the regionalization study. We should be getting the study to the steering committee by the end of the month. We're still on that time frame.
End of this month.
End of this, I said the end of the month, did I not say? The
Just
end
want
of
to
the
make sure it
month.
was this month.
Yes. We just, they had requested a couple last-minute items, and we should have everything to them by the end of the week, so expect that report pretty soon.
Good.
Any other continuing business? New business. Anybody have new business?
Yeah, I'd like to say that the artwork, I forget the art teacher's name,
This is no.
Oh,
has done a fantastic job with all the windows in Trick or Treat. We did a video on it, and it's got like 1,700 views, and the comments around town on the video, on the artwork and all the stores is very positive. And also, we're getting like between 3,000 and 4,000 watches on our football team, which is hopefully going to win the last game of the season and make us all very happy. That's all I got.
any other?
I had one. So last November, we had discussed as a part of our, a little bit around education, kind of continuing to look at doing a career day. And so in, I think, May or June, we were able to facilitate the first career day. And I was wondering if there was intentions to continue that and grow that program as a yearly program. Okay. If you need any support in trying to recruit, yes, we'd be willing to help from Harmony. Mm-hmm.
Any other new business? No? All right, so we are on to public participation again. Is there any public participation?
Hi, Stephen Gransky. My wife and I were out at the March meeting here, and she spoke about the elementary school playground, the flooring there.
The Third Street one or the?
Right here.
The one here.
right
over
Yep.
here, sorry. Getting the mulch replaced with the rubberized flooring. We were assured at that meeting that this is something that would be done by the fall. We came back to school in the fall and we found only half of the playground was done. We've heard from a couple of other parents as well that were concerned what happened. We didn't hear anything about why it wasn't the whole playground. We're obviously concerned about my daughter Madison, who has the special needs. She was in preschool, which is the side which is done, but now she's in kindergarten. That is the mulch side now. So we've sent a couple emails, but we haven't really got any clear answer on what's happening and what the plan is moving forward. We'd just like some information regarding what's going to be happening moving forward, and if there's any issues that we can help with or the community can help with, we'd be happy to. We just need to know what's going to happen.
I'm sorry, it's a two-phase two-phase plan. I know they got the first part done, and I'll just have to follow up tomorrow with our chief of operations to find out the exact plan for the second half. And I'll send an email back to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Other public participation?
Good evening, everyone. Whoa. Matthew Hoy, social studies teacher and National Honor Society advisor. I want to take a second to formally invite you all to our induction ceremony, which will be in 2 weeks, October 30th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. We have 23 fantastic juniors and seniors being inducted this year to add to our 14 returning members. They're doing a lot of great work. So we'd love to see you come out, support them, and have a piece of cake if you're around. And then also in November 18th, 19th, whatever that Tuesday is our first Miller Keystone Blood Drive. So that's for staff, students, and we're extending the invite for our board members as well. So if you're interested, I can make sure that I get the information in Lorette out to you, the sign up and everything else. So I want to thank you all again for your support for all of our programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public participation? No? Okay, great. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Go home.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Jackie. Jackie, don't run.